everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back another week, another crazy week of politics, pop culture, all of the above. Welcome to another edition of Secretary of Shade. My name is DDM. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that bell for notifications and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, to make sure you're following me on social media at Dapper Dan Midas. Also, don't forget we have the limited edition Secretary of Shade mugs. The link is in the description and it will be in the top of the comments. I want to say hello to everyone. Hey, Tori in New York City. Darlene, how's it going, my love? We got all our regulars in here. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. So we got a lot to talk about. The Iowa caucuses. The Iowa caucuses have happened. We're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about Miss Nikki Haley, and the foot that she put in her mouth recently after the caucuses with her comments on America and, you know, what it is and what it's not. We're also going to talk about the Houthi attacks. So there's these attacks that are happening in the Red Sea that are pretty significant. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Also, to make sure you put your comments in the chat. If you want to post a super chat, by all means, go ahead and knock yourself out. But the first thing that we need to discuss is, oh, y'all like the hoodie. Thank you. The first thing we need to discuss is the Iowa caucuses. So the Iowa caucuses happen on Monday, okay? You know, for those of us who don't follow politics a lot, not me, but you know who I'm talking about. Or if you're just like, what is this? I want to talk about what the Iowa caucuses are. And this is coming from Al Jazeera. So we have a nice little breakdown here. So the Iowa caucus, right? Iowa caucuses, what they are in-person meetings among voters of each party in Iowa. They are similar to primaries, except they are run by parties instead of the state. So what that means is typically when you go to an election, you cast your vote, it's state run. You know, you have your state election officials there, and, you know, they point you in a direction, making sure you got your ballot, making sure you are who you say you are, all that good stuff. In this case, it's run by the party. So the Iowa Republican Caucus is ran by the Republican Party. The Iowa Democratic Caucus is ran by the Democratic Party, okay? Public speeches are delivered on behalf of the candidates to rally support. Registered Republicans cast their vote through a secret paper ballot. No postal ballot is allowed. The votes are then tallied and winners are announced in a matter of few hours. Now, let me tell you about these secret ballots, because I was watching the news when this was going down. And the secret ballot, it ain't nothing but a damn index card, y'all. It's nothing crazy or a piece of paper that just got the names of the people on it. It's nothing significant, because at the end of the day, these votes really don't count for anything as far as Iowa caucus. Yes, it kind of signals who the nominee would be, but it's not even a primary election, okay? So, registered Republican voters who are legal residents of Iowa will gather in caucus precincts as early as 2 hours before the commencement of the caucus. The voters have to be 18 years old by the time the elections are held in November. Precincts are venues within Iowa assigned for the Republican in-person vote. This year, there were over 1,600 such venues, typically school buildings, churches, and community centers. So basically the same as when we go vote, y'all. You know, you go to your local church or wherever your jurisdiction is. People who are not registered voters or registered Republicans can also participate in the caucus, but they have to register in person, okay, at their precinct. So it's very similar. It's like kind of like a scrimmage election, but it's a scrimmage election for one particular party, right? It's not a scrimmage election for like the general election. Okay. And somebody's saying there's a delay. Is there still a delay? Because we have stream settings. We have it on low latency. Is it still a delay, guys? If you could sound off in the comments. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, so it's good on my end. Not on your end. Okay, so a lot of people are saying there's no delay. Okay, because we did edit that. So I just wanted to make sure. So some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. Shout out to the YouTube God. So we are, it's showing, pretty good on my end. It depends on the stream that you have or not. Somebody says like slightly. Okay, so we may have to just go back to taping these because for some reason this just isn't. Some people are saying it's delayed, some people are saying it's not. But anyway, back to the caucus. So that's pretty much how it works as far as what it is. Now, why is it important? Why is it important? So the Iowa caucuses, okay, if we look at the numbers, the Republican caucus will not be much of an indicator of who the Republican nominee would be, of course, because we know Donald Trump is basically running away with this, okay? Iowa is allocated 40 delegates to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee this summer, making up only 1.6% of the total. So what's interesting about this is that the Republican Party, like Iowa itself, doesn't make up a huge percentage, which kind of makes this all seem really dumb. But I get it. I guess, they're going off of historically when they do these caucuses in Iowa, whoever wins Iowa typically goes on to win the nomination or whatever. But it sounds foolish to me. However, since the caucus is unique and inaugural to the primaries, candidates can leverage the momentum they gain from its results as they head to the New Hampshire primary the following week. The results of the caucuses are the first litmus test of the viability and momentum of Trump and other candidates in the race. They will also help gauge the strength of support for candidates, especially this year. Now, here's the thing with that. Now, this year was a very low turnout in Iowa. Now, we have to be clear that because of the weather events, the snow, blizzard conditions, a lot of people just couldn't make it out. Me personally, I don't know why they didn't just reschedule it, but here we are, so you got to kind of take this with a grain of salt. It was very low turnout. Now, Donald Trump did win this caucus pretty much by a landslide. It was a runaway train at this point. And the reality is, even with everything that Donald Trump has going on, more than likely he's going to be the Republican nominee. Now, when we look at the results of the caucuses, how many votes and things like that, Trump finished with 51% of the vote, with 99% of the votes counted. So pretty much all of the votes were counted. He got 51% of the vote. So more than half of that 99% went to Donald Trump. Let's be clear about that, okay? Ron DeSantis won just over 21% of that 99%, and Nikki Haley got 19%. So currently, if we're basing it off of this caucus, it's Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and then Nikki Haley. Now, what's interesting is that Nikki Haley has been doing this press run saying that, it's a two-man race and it's essentially between her and Donald Trump. But you can't just discount Ron DeSantis, especially because the last few interviews that he's done, even though I am not a fan of his policies, he's really showing a lot of personality. Somebody went and got some coaching, Okay, because Ron was given very much of you know what you don't like in a candidate, but it seems like he went and got some coaching, and now everything is where it needs to be. Okay. But we still have some things to work out. We got to see how they do in New Hampshire. Um, People were asking, I saw it in the comments, um, a few people saying, do Democrats caucus? Now, typically, they would. Okay. Now, Democrats will caucus this year, but they are not going to vote. They will instead send ballots by post, so they'll mail them in over the next few weeks. This is the Democrats in Iowa, which will be tallied by March 5th. Democratic voters will instead gather in person to carry out their party business, such as electing county delegates. In previous years, Democrat voters will also make speeches and divide themselves into groups based on their preferred candidates. However, in 2020, the Democratic caucus was impacted by technological errors, leading to mismanagement and delays in results. So basically, it's given very much of we had some issues. We're not necessarily going to do that vote anymore, and we're just going to get together and talk. But when we talk about the Democratic Party, I don't know what they're caucusing for. There's no one to caucus about. I mean, you had Dean Phillips, Google him, but he's not like a real valuable. We all know is Joe Biden. What are we meeting for? This meeting could have been an email, niece. Why are we here? Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. But once again, it's looking like it's going to be a runaway train. And Donald Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. Scandal aside, court cases aside, Donald Trump. I feel like this. If you're from the DMV or DC, Maryland, Baltimore area, I feel like Marion Barry walked so Donald Trump could run. If you don't know who Marion Barry is, please Google him. I do have him on the wall of my favorite historians. Yes, he is problematic, but he did a lot for DC. And Marion Barry is a key, honey. That being said, tell me what you think. Sound off in the comments. And we'll talk about the caucuses. Now, moving on, but not really. Nikki Haley. Now, Nikki Haley, for those of you who have followed this show, this channel, Facebook, wherever you found me, you know that I pride myself on being very even, very fair, and looking at things from all perspectives. And every time I do that, these politicians remind me who they are. And then I'm like, damn. So Nikki Haley, this question, first she talked about, it's okay. So Nikki Haley was basically, in a nutshell, and I'm paraphrasing here, asked, is America racist? Does racism exist? She already flubbed the question about what the Civil War was about. And she goes on to say, this is on Fox News, mind you, this is not on a liberal channel. She goes on to say, I don't believe America is a racist country, subject to opinion. America was never a racist country. Yikes! Oh, niece. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm gagging because how does a woman named Namarata, who has simplified her name to Nikki, who is currently facing the same birthing attacks that Obama got from Donald Trump, not believe that America was never a racist country? You literally are changing your name or editing it, let's say that, so that you can appeal to a certain demographic in this country. But you don't believe your existence, your political run, your namesake states that America is racist and was racist and has work to do. And furthermore, as a woman of color, it is baffling that you have a hard time addressing this. Because see, here's the thing, and I'm going to be very, very clear. If a white person has said that, I wouldn't be as gagged. I wouldn't be as gagged. But a woman of color saying that, who faces racism, and here's the thing, she's doing all of this to appeal to a certain demographic that's not going to vote for her anyway. Niece, they're not going to vote for you at all. No matter how much you shorten your name, no matter how much you try to ignore the history of the country, you're going to be who you are. And they're going to see that. No matter how much you change your appearance. And here's the thing with this. Here's the deep thing. Is if that you can't face yourself, how do I expect you to face a country? Let's go. How do I expect you to face a country and you can't even look in the mirror and face yourself? Now, I don't understand, why you think that you can't use your natural name. We just had a president named Barack Obama. And, another thing with Miss Haley, because, in the debates that did happen, she said some things. I was like, I can get with it. Sis is sound on foreign policy. She has great foreign policy skills. She gets it. And I will give her all of her flowers for that. But I can't get behind a woman who doesn't know, or doesn't love, rather, who she is. Because if you can't love yourself, if you are denying yourself, you will deny me. Now with Donald Trump, for better or for worse, he know who the hell he is. And he owns it. And he don't hide from it. But that's also the privilege he has as a Caucasian man in America. So I'll give him that. But Miss Haley, you got some work to do, sis. And it's crazy. But I wish her the best. Do I want Donald Trump as the Republican nominee? No. But I also live in reality. When a person has 50% of the votes and people are going out and voting for him regardless, no matter what happens, we have to face reality. Okay? So I'm going to need the Democratic Party to get it together. And let me sip some tea real quick. Here's the thing. I always said that Joe Biden was a stop the bleeding president. He was a transitional president. The Democratic Party has failed because they did not groom a proper successor for Joe Biden. And that's a failure. Okay? I'm assuming that they thought that Joe would just magically, automatically get 2 terms and that, he would get in, and because Trump was so divisive and so polarizing that, it would be a given thing. But that's not what's happening. And we as voters have to face that. And we have to deal with it. And live in reality. This is not a done deal. His reelection is not a foregone conclusion. In fact, it will be a fight to the finish. So, we got to think about that and see where it goes. Okay? Now, another thing that's happening is these Houthi missile attacks. Okay? So, you have the Houthi movement. Okay? The Houthi, they call them rebels. I don't like calling anybody that, but the Houthis are basically in Yemen. They oppose the government in Yemen. They spent most of their time fighting against the government in Yemen. They overthrew the internationally recognized president of Yemen, Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, in 2014 and have been fighting in Yemen ever since then. Okay? Now, the Houthis, have started attacking ships. Okay? The Houthis have sporadically targeted ships, and this is coming from the Associated Press. The Houthis have sporadically targeted ships in the region, but the attacks have increased since the start of the October 7th Israel-Hamas war. They have used drones and anti-ship missiles to attack vessels, and in one case used a helicopter to board and seize an Israeli-owned ship and its crew. Okay? They have threatened to attack any vessel they believe is either going to or coming from Israel. That's now escalated to apparently any vessel with container ships and oil tankers. Flags to countries like Norway and Liberia being attacked or drawing missile fire. So basically the Houthis, they've been kind of doing little things here and there, but this has really escalated since the Israel and Hamas war. Genocide, however you view it. Now we done got in it. Okay? So, now you got to ask yourself, why are they targeting this particular area, right? So, the area that they're targeting is the Red Sea. Okay? So, the Red Sea has the Suez Canal at its northern end and the narrow Bab el-Mandeb Strait at the southern end, leading into the Gulf of Aden. It's a busy waterway with ships traversing the Suez Canal to bring goods between Asia and Europe and beyond. In fact, 40% of Asia and Europe trade normally goes through this area, including oil, diesel fuel, and a lot of important things for Europe. So do food products like palm oil and grain and anything else brought over on container ships, which is most of the world's manufactured products. In all, about 30% of global container traffic and more than 1 million barrels of crude oil per day, typically head through the Suez Canal. Okay? So this is a big region. They're very smart because this is how we get a lot of shit. Okay? Now, how is this affecting trade? Let's look at this. How is this affecting trade? Thank you so much, Tori. Tori says she learned so much from me. I'm just, look, we're going to get back into this, but I want to say something real quick. because I've had a few people on social media, say certain things. I am not a news source. I am just one of you who likes to stay informed. I don't even claim to know every single thing that's going on. That's very hard to do. But I do feel like I get something out of us sharing and explaining and learning about these things together. And I thank you very much for that. But back to this. So how is this affecting trade? So shipping container companies like Maersk are avoiding the Red Sea and sending their ships around Africa in the Cape of Good Hope. That adds a week to 2 weeks to voyages and increases costs for shipping, fuel, and more. At least 90% of the container ships that have been going through the Suez Canal are now rerouting around the tip of Africa. Okay? The cost to ship a standard 40-foot container from China to Northern Europe has jumped from $1,500 to $4,000, according to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy in Germany. Okay? It's still cheaper, though, because in the pandemic, it was costing $14,000. But the Houthis are digging in their pockets. Okay? The delays contributed to a 1.3% decline in world trade in December, reflecting goods stuck on ships rather than being offloaded in port. Okay? This crisis is looking to shape up to last for months. Okay? Notable consequences for consumer prices in Europe are scarcely to be expected, since the share of freight costs and the value of high-priced goods such as consumer electronics is a fraction of a percent. Okay. However, analysts at J.P. Morgan Chase say that the cost increase could slow the recent decline in inflation. While these cost increases are coming off low levels, they will reinforce the fading of recent deflationary dynamics for goods and prices. Okay. So it's affecting things. It could cause shipping to cost more. It's definitely going to cost certain products to cost more. So you're going to feel this. So they are hitting people in the pocket, and that's where it's most important. Okay? Now, the Houthi rebels hit a U.S.-owned ship off the coast of Yemen in the Gulf of Aden, raising tensions. So, now we done got in it. How we get in it? Why am I in it? Nene voice. Okay? Here's the thing. I just think that we just in everything. We got Ukraine going on. We got the Israel-Gaza shit going on. Now we getting fucked up and attacked by the Houthis in the Red Sea. Not to mention all the other stationary shit we got going on. Then we got intelligence dark web war going on with China. We got the Russia shit happening. It's like, niece, I'm going to need you to sit down somewhere. Because I'm trying to figure out, what all this money. We got the border crisis going on. And as a person, as taxpayers, I'm not seeing my tax money reflected in my actual quality of life in this country, if I'm being real. The roads fucked up. The school systems is giving, my tax is high. The price of food is high. Everything high. But we sending all this money to fight wars that have been going on for centuries. That I question. And I think it's fair for people to question that. Not to mention, if I can be a little bit selfish, who the fuck gonna protect us? You got all these people in all these different places. What if, I seen the movie Red Dawn from 84, so, I'm just like, I'm thinking worst case scenario. I'm like, niche, the paratroopers come out like in Red Dawn. Where the fuck the military gonna be at? They're gonna be all over there. I'm losing weight, but I'm still fat. It's only but so fast I can run. I'm going to need y'all to get it together. I'm annoyed. Always in something. It's crazy. Now, as far as where things go from here, we'll see. But this is why this election is important. Every election is important. But, I mean, when you look at a lot of things and you take out the identity pieces of it, while I don't agree, I understand why folks are leaning the way that they're leaning. And that's something that we have to face as a country. We have to face that. Okay. Now, I want to do something different to close out the show. This segment is called Secretary Seconds. You know, we talk about a lot of heavy topics here on Secretary of Shade, and I wanted to start to end the show, and we'll see how this goes, with a positive story. Something bright, something fun, something uplifting, something that's not going to trigger a panic attack for me. Okay? Now, this story, I found this on Today. A Burger King worker who didn't miss a day of work in 27 years buys a home with crowdfunding donations. So Kevin Ford, the Burger King veteran who went viral for never missing a day of work in 27 years and inspired folks from all over the world to donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to him, just bought a house using those funds. On December 29th, Ford posted an update on TikTok and Instagram with details about the house he just closed on in Western Nevada. I'm trying to get through without crying, he says, but I wanted to show you something you made possible. I know it's not a mansion, but it's mine. In the video, Ford takes viewers through his 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Paw Rump, Nevada. Ford's life was forever changed when in June 2022, a viral video showed him receiving a gift from management for his dedication to his job at Burger King after not missing a shift in 27 years. The gift from HMS Host, the company from which Burger King hires, included a Starbucks reusable tumbler, a bag of Reese's candy, pens, and 2 rolls of Lifesavers. Ford, who expressed his gratitude in the video, garnered quite the response online, with many feeling he deserved more, and that's no shade. His daughter, Sarna, started a GoFundMe in his honor, and it raised nearly $450,000. Ford says he used a sizable chunk of the donations to buy the house. This is what I like to hear. And, I really, really like stuff like this. And it's just so great to see people recognize and see that people still want to hear positive stories. Okay? It's just so great to hear that. And I'm so happy for this man. I wish him nothing but the best. And this is just the news that I needed to hear today and for the week. So congratulations to Mr. Ford. I hope he enjoys his home. And I hope this inspires people to do more good things in the world. But with that being said, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It's been another great show. I think next week we're going to tape it because Some people said they had sound issues. Some people, some folks said they didn't. But we're gonna go ahead and do a taped video. I love doing these lives, but something's going on with MotherTube that's causing a delay, and I don't want that to interrupt our meetings. But as always, we are going to do these regularly now, so I'll see you again next week, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. sharp, and we'll discuss whatever shenanigans are going on then. Until then, you guys be safe, love each other, stay warm because the whole country is cold, and make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, share with your friends, and have a great week.